Tonight, we will tell you the story of Zeus, the king of the gods, but not just the one you know from the lightning and thunder. We will delve into his hidden beginnings, his struggle to survive against a father who devoured his own children, and how he rose from a secret birth to become the supreme ruler of Olympus. You will learn about the ancient prophecy that shaped his destiny, the epic war against the Titans, and the division of the cosmos that followed. We will explore the monstrous threats he faced, from the giants to the terrifying Typhon, and uncover the surprising secret behind the birth of one of his most powerful children, Athena. This is a tale not only of immense power, but of cunning, alliances, and the constant effort required to maintain order in a world of gods and mortals. It is a story about the weight of ultimate authority and the profound secrets that lie at the heart of the most powerful being in the ancient Greek pantheon. Oh, and if you enjoy these stories, please consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. New sleep stories arrive here every day. All right, find a comfortable spot, perhaps in your bed or on your favorite armchair. Take a deep, slow breath and feel your body sink into the comfort beneath you, letting go of any tension. Our journey into the hidden life of Zeus begins long before Olympus was established, in a time when fear ruled the oldest gods and a dark prophecy threatened the very fabric of existence. The world, you see, had been shaped by immense forces long before the age of heroes, an age where ancient deities ruled, known as the Titans. Their king was Cronus, a powerful and fearsome being who had himself risen to supremacy by overthrowing his own father, Uranus, the primordial sky. This act, born of a prophecy, cast a long shadow over Cronus's reign, for it was foretold that he, too, would one day be overthrown by one of his own children. This prophecy, a whisper from the very fabric of existence, filled Cronus with a profound and consuming dread, a terror so deep that it warped his very nature. He became consumed by a chilling paranoia, convinced that every new birth would bring forth his downfall. And so, as his divine wife Rhea, one of the generous Titanesses, gave birth to child after child, Cronus, in his boundless fear, committed an unspeakable act. With a cold, unfeeling resolve, he would seize each newborn deity the moment it emerged into the world, still fragile and new, and without hesitation, he would swallow them whole. His gaping maw became a dark abyss, consuming his own flesh and blood. One by one, the children vanished into that terrible darkness. First Hestia, the pure goddess of the hearth, then Demeter, the nurturing goddess of the harvest, followed by Hera, who would one day become his queen, then Hades, the somber lord of the underworld, and finally Poseidon, the mighty ruler of the seas. Rhea, their mother, was left in unspeakable anguish, her heart torn by grief, her spirit broken by the repeated loss of her beloved offspring. She watched, helpless, as her husband, driven by the cruel hand of fate and his own overwhelming terror, devoured their shared future. Her tears flowed like rivers, but they could not wash away the horror of his actions. She longed for a way to break this dreadful cycle, to save at least one of her children from this monstrous fate. In her desperation, Rhea sought counsel from her ancient parents, Gaia, the vast and nurturing earth, and Uranus, the boundless and ancient sky. They, who had witnessed the dawn of creation and the rise and fall of countless ages, listened to her sorrowful plea and offered a solution, a cunning plan to deceive the tyrannical king. When Rhea was once again heavy with child, carrying what would be her sixth and final offspring, she left her husband's side in secret. She journeyed to the remote and rugged island of Crete, a land of deep caves and towering mountains, where the ancient echoes of the world still resonated. There, in a hidden grotto on the slopes of Mount Ida, a sacred place known only to a few, she gave birth to her son. This child, destined to become the most powerful of all, was named Zeus. Immediately after his birth, Rhea enacted the crucial part of the plan. She carefully wrapped a stone in swaddling clothes, making it appear exactly like a newborn infant, its small form nestled within the soft fabric. With a heavy heart, yet resolute in her purpose, she returned to Cronus and presented him with this deceptive bundle. Cronus, blinded by his paranoia and perhaps dulled by his monstrous routine, suspected nothing. Without a moment's hesitation, he took the swaddled stone and, believing it to be his latest child, swallowed it whole, just as he had swallowed all the others. He felt no resistance, no struggle, only the familiar sensation of consumption, and thus, unknowingly, he sealed his own doom. The stone rested within him, a silent promise of future reckoning, while the true child, Zeus, remained safe and hidden, far from his father's destructive reach. In the secluded depths of the Cretan cave, Zeus began his hidden childhood. Rhea had entrusted his care to a group of devoted nymphs, gentle spirits of the wild who nurtured him with loving attention. Adrasteia and Ida, two prominent nymphs, tended to his every need, providing him with a cradle woven from celestial fibers and feeding him ambrosia, the divine food of the gods, and nectar, their sweet drink. But his primary nourishment came from a special source, the miraculous goat Amalthea, whose abundant milk sustained the growing infant. Her gentle bleating and warm presence filled the quiet cave, providing comfort and sustenance to the future king of the gods. The air in the cave was cool and damp, carrying the faint scent of earth and ancient rock, a sanctuary from the harsh realities of the world outside. To ensure Zeus's absolute safety, Rhea had also enlisted the aid of the Curetes, a group of fierce and loyal warrior guardians. These beings, strong and vigilant, stood watch over the grotto day and night. Their sacred duty was to prevent Cronus from ever discovering his son's existence. Whenever the infant Zeus cried, his tiny wails threatening to echo through the mountains and betray his presence, the Curetes would immediately spring into action. They would clash their bronze spears against their shields with a thunderous rhythmic clang, creating a deafening din that reverberated through the mountain chambers. This powerful resonant sound drowned out the baby's cries, effectively masking his whereabouts from any prying ears, especially those of his vigilant and terrifying father. The rhythmic pounding of metal against metal became the lullaby of Zeus's early years, a constant reminder of the danger that surrounded him and the protection that shielded him. Under the watchful eyes of the nymphs and the vigilant guardianship of the Curetes, Zeus grew with astonishing speed, not like a mortal child, but with the accelerated pace of a young god. His strength increased exponentially with each passing day, his form becoming more robust, his divine power beginning to stir within him. He learned to navigate the winding passages of the cave, to understand the whispers of the wind, and to feel the ancient pulse of the earth. His childhood, though secluded, was one of constant growth and preparation. He was not merely surviving, He was being forged silently, powerfully, into the very being who would challenge the old order and usher in a new age. The years he spent in that hidden sanctuary were crucial, allowing him to mature away from the destructive influence of his father, gathering the strength and wisdom that would soon be unleashed upon the cosmos. This secret upbringing ensured his survival, transforming him from a vulnerable infant into the mighty deity destined to fulfill the prophecy and reshape the fate of the world. The time was slowly approaching when the hidden child would emerge from the shadows, ready to claim his rightful place and confront the very power that sought to suppress him. His emergence would not be quiet. It would be a storm. As Zeus grew into a young god, hidden away in the cool, damp caves of Mount Ida on the island of Crete, he was nurtured by the nymphs Ida and Adrasteia, who fed him goat's milk and honey. His infant cries were masked by the rhythmic, thunderous clashing of the curetes, fierce warrior dancers whose bronze shields and spears echoed through the mountains, ensuring his father Cronus would never hear him. Zeus matured swiftly, his physical strength growing with each passing season, but more profoundly, his understanding of his own divine lineage and the grim fate of his elder siblings deepened. He absorbed the stories of Cronus's tyranny, of his insatiable fear of prophecy, and the grotesque act of devouring his own children. A quiet, unyielding resolve began to settle within him, a determination forged in secrecy and fueled by a profound sense of injustice. He knew that his existence was not merely an escape, but a preparation for a grand confrontation. The moment for hiding had passed. The time for challenging the old order was approaching, and his heart, though young, burned with a steady, righteous fire, a silent promise to reclaim his family and restore balance to the cosmos. He understood that his path would lead him back to the very heart of the Titan realm, to face the being who had sought to erase his existence and imprison his kin. The cool mountain air, the rustling leaves, and the distant echoes of the curetes' dance were his companions during these formative years, shaping him into the formidable deity he was destined to become. When Zeus finally emerged from his concealed upbringing, no longer a hidden infant, but a god of burgeoning power, he did not rush into a chaotic direct confrontation with Cronus. He understood that raw, unbridled force alone might not be enough to overcome the ancient, formidable might of the Titan King, who had ruled for ages. Instead, he approached the immense challenge with a strategic mind, a cunning born of his divine heritage, realizing that a subtle plan, a precise maneuver, would be far more effective than an immediate full-scale war for which he was not yet entirely prepared. For this intricate task, he sought the counsel of Metis, a wise and ancient Titaness whose very name meant wisdom and cunning. Metis was renowned throughout the cosmos for her unparalleled intellect, her profound knowledge of the universe's deepest secrets, and her extraordinary ability to devise ingenious solutions to seemingly insurmountable problems. She understood the intricate tapestry of fate and the subtle weaknesses that could exist even within the most powerful beings. Zeus, recognizing her unique insight and strategic brilliance, approached her not as an adversary to be conquered, but as an indispensable ally, seeking her invaluable guidance on how to subtly undermine Cronus's power and free his imprisoned siblings without immediately igniting a cataclysmic war for which the forces of Olympus were not yet fully gathered. Metis, with her keen foresight, perceived the potential for a new, more just order in Zeus, and sensing the inevitable, long-prophesied downfall of Cronus, readily agreed to assist him. With her deep understanding of divine physiology and ancient magic, she meticulously concocted a potent emetic, a magical potion designed specifically to force Cronus to regurgitate the children he had so cruelly swallowed. This was no ordinary brew. It was a complex elixir, carefully infused with rare. Having gathered his siblings, Zeus now faced the monumental task of challenging Cronus and the formidable Titans. This was not merely a family dispute. It was a war for the very fabric of existence, a conflict that would decide the rulers of the cosmos. The Titans, ancient and immensely powerful, commanded vast forces, and Zeus understood that even with his mighty siblings by his side, they would need more than just divine strength to secure victory. He required allies, beings whose power could tip the scales in their favor, and he knew exactly where to find them, deep within the primordial gloom. His gaze turned towards Tartarus, a primordial abyss, a deep, dark chasm far beneath the earth, even lower than Hades' own shadowed realm. It was a place of eternal gloom and torturous imprisonment, where the earliest and most fearsome children of Gaia, the earth, and Uranus, the sky, had been confined. Among them were the Cyclopes, giant beings with a single, powerful eye in the center of their foreheads. These were not simply large creatures. They were master smiths and unparalleled crafters, their hands capable of forging wonders from raw metal and fire. They had been imprisoned by Uranus, their own father, who feared their monstrous appearance and immense strength, and later kept bound by Cronus, after he had seized power from his own father. Also held within Tartarus were the Hecatonchires, meaning 100-handed ones, monstrous giants, each possessing 100 arms and 50 heads. Their very presence radiated untamed, raw, physical force, a destructive power that none could easily withstand. They too had been locked away for their terrifying might, deemed too dangerous even by the Titans themselves. Zeus, demonstrating not just his burgeoning strength but also his profound strategic brilliance, descended into the suffocating depths of Tartarus. The air grew heavy, thick with the despair of ages, and the darkness was absolute, broken only by the faint glow of the chains that bound the ancient prisoners. He did not come as a captor, but as a liberator. With his nascent yet rapidly growing power, he shattered the adamantine chains and locks that bound these primordial beings, freeing them from their long, agonizing imprisonment. The sounds of breaking stone and clanking metal echoed through the chasm as the ancient giants stretched limbs that had been confined for eons. The Cyclopes and Hecatonchires, having suffered for ages in the crushing darkness, were overwhelmed with a deep, boundless gratitude for their unexpected release. Their loyalty was now sworn irrevocably to Zeus and his just cause, for he had shown them mercy and strength, where their own parents and the ruling Titans had shown only fear and cruel confinement. In their immense gratitude, and as a testament to their newfound freedom, the Cyclopes, master craftsmen that they were, offered their unparalleled skills to forge weapons for the Olympians, weapons unlike any the world had ever seen, imbued with divine power. For Zeus, their liberator and leader, they crafted the mighty thunderbolts, bolts of pure concentrated lightning that would become his signature weapon, a terrifying and awe-inspiring symbol of his supreme power over the skies and storms. Each bolt crackled with raw, untamed energy, capable of shattering mountains, leveling cities, and striking down the mightiest foes with a single devastating strike. For Hades, the eldest of the brothers, they forged the Helm of Darkness, a helmet crafted from shadows and night, a powerful artifact that rendered its wearer completely invisible, allowing him to move unseen, infiltrate enemy lines, and strike from the deepest concealment. And for Poseidon, the lord of the seas, they created the formidable trident, a three-pronged spear capable of stirring the deepest oceans into furious tempests, causing catastrophic earthquakes that rent the very land, and commanding the most powerful waves to crash against his enemies. These divine artifacts were not mere tools. They were extensions of the gods' innate power, amplifying their might and granting them unparalleled advantages in the coming conflict. The Hecatoncheires, with their 100 hands and 50 heads, offered their raw, untamed, and unimaginable strength. Their role would be to hurl massive boulders and even entire mountains at the Titans, creating cataclysmic destruction and overwhelming their ancient foes on the battlefield. Their sheer physical presence and ability to unleash a continuous barrage of crushing blows would be an invaluable, decisive force. With these powerful, newly sworn allies and their newly forged potent weapons, the Olympians were now truly prepared. Zeus had not only assembled his family, unified by their shared plight, but had also armed them with the very instruments of cosmic power, turning raw elements into weapons of divine might. The stage was now meticulously set for the Titanomachy, a war that would rage for 10 long, brutal years, a conflict of unprecedented scale and ferocity, where the very fate of the entire universe, from the highest heavens to the deepest underworld, hung precariously in the balance. The ancient world was about to be torn asunder as the old order of the Titans clashed violently with the new emerging power of the Olympians. And Zeus, now armed with thunder, strategic alliances, and unwavering resolve, stood ready to lead his siblings into the greatest, most defining battle the cosmos had ever known. With these formidable new weapons, crafted by the skilled hands of the Cyclopes and the unwavering allegiance of the colossal Hecatoncheires, the time had come for the Olympians to confront the ancient powers that had long held dominion over the cosmos. The war that ensued, known to all as the Titanomachy, was unlike anything the cosmos had ever witnessed or would ever witness again. It was a truly cataclysmic, brutal, and utterly relentless conflict that raged for 10 long and agonizing years, reshaping the very fabric of existence with every thunderous blow and every shattered peak. Imagine, if you will, the sheer scale of this cosmic battle. On one side stood Cronus, the Titan, who had devoured his own children and his powerful brethren, ancient beings of immense, raw, and untamed power. Their forms were vast, their strength elemental, their will unyielding, truly representing an old order of primordial forces and unchecked ancient might. On the opposing side, led by Zeus, stood his siblings, Poseidon, who would one day command the seas, Hades, destined to rule the underworld, Hera, the future queen of the gods, Demeter, goddess of the harvest, and Hestia, guardian of the hearth. Alongside them, fought the mighty Cyclopes, whose single eyes blazed with the fire of their forges, and whose hands now hurled not merely rocks, but bolts of pure concentrated lightning, each one capable of shattering mountains. And beside them, the Hecatonchires, Briareus, Cottus, and Gyges, monstrous beings with 100 hands and 50 heads, tearing entire land masses from their very foundations and raining them down upon the Titans with unimaginable, crushing force. The skies above were perpetually rent by the blinding, searing flashes of Zeus's lightning, a new and terrifying power that illuminated the vast battlefield with an unearthly, chaotic glow. The very air crackled with ozone, heavy with the scent of burnt rock and divine energy. The earth groaned and shuddered beneath the impact of colossal blows, as mighty mountains crumbled to dust and vast oceans boiled into scorching steam. Rivers of molten rock flowed freely where once serene landscapes had been, a stark testament to the sheer destructive power unleashed by both sides. This was not a war fought on a single plain. It encompassed the entirety of the known world, from Tartarus's deepest, most abyssal chasms to Olympus's highest, most sacred peaks. Every strike, every fierce clash of immortal wills sent profound reverberations through the very core of the cosmos, threatening to unravel creation's delicate threads. Throughout this devastating decade, Zeus proved himself to be not just a powerful warrior, but a cunning and brilliant strategist. He was the architect of the Olympian offensive, directing his forces with an authority that inspired unwavering loyalty in his allies and struck fear into the hearts of his enemies. He understood the unique strengths of his divine siblings and new allies, deploying them precisely where they could inflict the greatest damage upon the enemy. His thunderous voice echoed powerfully across the swirling chaos, rallying the weary and pushing the assault forward with unyielding, relentless determination. He led from the front, his lightning bolts never ceasing their deadly dance, driving the Titans back inch by agonizing inch. The Titans, though incredibly formidable, began to falter under this sustained and highly intelligent assault. Their raw, ancient power, once unchallenged, was now met with a precision and coordination they had simply never encountered before. The constant, overwhelming bombardment of lightning and hurled mountains slowly but surely wore down their ancient resilience. Slowly, but with absolute certainty, the tide of the war began to turn in favor of the younger gods. The overwhelming, tireless might of the Hecatonchires, combined with the devastating precision of Zeus's lightning, proved to be an utterly unstoppable force. In the climactic phase of the Titanomachy, Zeus unleashed his full, unbridled fury. He descended upon Cronus himself with a veritable storm of lightning bolts, each carrying the immense weight of 10 years of brutal conflict and the profound promise of a new era. The final battle was a spectacle of overwhelming divine power as Zeus, with a final earth-shattering volley, relentlessly drove Cronus and the remaining Titans into the deepest abyss. The Hecatonchires, their 100 hands working in perfect unison, seized the defeated Titans, binding them with unbreakable adamantine chains, forged in the very fires of the Cyclops' wrath. They were then cast down into Tartarus, the darkest, most inescapable prison beneath the earth, their ancient reign brought to an absolute end by the very children they had sought to destroy. With the Titans finally defeated and imprisoned, the cosmic order began to settle. The war, which had threatened to tear the very universe apart, had now forged a new, stable balance of power. Zeus, standing victorious amidst the remnants of the old world, had not only avenged his siblings and overthrown his tyrannical father, but he had also established himself, through sheer might and unparalleled strategic genius, as the unquestioned supreme ruler of the cosmos. The age of the Titans was definitively over, and the dawn of the Olympian era had truly begun, secured by a decade of brutal, unrelenting cosmic warfare. The long, brutal war, the Titanomachy, had finally ended. 10 years of cosmic struggle, of thunder and earth-shattering blows, had culminated in the absolute defeat of Cronus and his elder brethren. The Titans, once masters of the cosmos, now lay shackled and imprisoned deep within the abyssal depths of Tartarus, their immense primordial power rendered utterly inert by the overwhelming might of Zeus and his formidable allies. A new era had dawned, an age defined by the triumph of the younger gods, but with victory came the immense, profound task of establishing a lasting order in a world that had been torn asunder by ceaseless conflict. The vast, chaotic cosmos, scarred and reshaped by the war's truly cataclysmic energies, urgently needed structure, decisive leadership, and a clear, equitable division of power among the triumphant victors. Zeus, the undisputed architect and driving force of this monumental victory, now stood at the very pinnacle of this newfound supremacy. Yet, he was keenly aware that he was not alone in his hard-won triumph. His loyal brothers, Poseidon, the formidable wielder of the earthquake-stirring trident, and Hades, the stern, silent, and often misunderstood keeper of secrets, had fought alongside him with unwavering courage and relentless loyalty. Their shared struggle, the decade of unremitting warfare against their tyrannical father and his kin, had forged an unbreakable bond between them, a profound kinship that transcended even the vastness and distinct nature of their individual powers. It was universally understood among them, a silent agreement born of shared sacrifice, that the world, now finally free from the capricious and cruel grasp of Cronus, must be justly shared, its immense and diverse domains apportioned fairly among the three who had risked absolutely everything for its liberation and for the dawn of a new cosmic age. To decide their respective realms, the three powerful brothers, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, gathered in a solemn assembly to draw lots. This was not a moment fraught with contention or bitter dispute, but rather a profoundly significant ritual, a formal recognition of their collective strength, their shared destiny, and the unique paths each would now tread. Each brother, with a mixture of anticipation and grave responsibility, reached into a bronze helmet, pulling forth a distinct symbol that would forever define the scope and nature of his dominion. Zeus, whether by the subtle hand of destiny or perhaps by a fortunate twist of fate, drew the lot that unequivocally granted him sovereignty over the boundless azure sky, the shimmering vast star-filled heavens above, and the awe-inspiring power of the mighty thunder and flashing lightning. This auspicious draw immediately elevated him to the undisputed and supreme position of ruler, not only over the entire pantheon of gods, but over the entirety of the cosmos itself. His majestic throne would be established on the sacred peak of Mount Olympus, the highest and most revered mountain, from which he would majestically govern all aspects of existence, overseeing both divine and mortal affairs with an iron will. Poseidon, in turn, drew the lot for the vast, swirling, and ever-changing seas, thereby becoming the powerful lord of all oceans, the unpredictable master of storms, and the guardian of all aquatic life, from the smallest fish to the colossal sea monsters of the deep. His famed trident would thenceforth command the towering waves, shake the very foundations of the earth, and bring forth both serene calm and sudden, devastating cataclysm. He would rule from his glittering, pearlescent palace, nestled deep beneath the darkest and most unfathomable waters, a domain as immense, mysterious, and inherently unpredictable as the boundless sky itself. The crashing waves and the silent depths would be his to command. Hades, the eldest, and perhaps the most reserved of the three brothers, drew the lot for the shadowy subterranean underworld, the eternal realm of the departed souls. His domain was not one of vibrant light and teeming life, but of eternal twilight, a profound and quiet space where the spirits of mortals would journey after their earthly existence, finding their final resting place. Though often perceived as a grim and forbidding ruler, Hades' presence and his disciplined rule were absolutely essential for maintaining the delicate balance of the cosmos, ensuring that death was a natural, ordered passage, a necessary transition rather than a chaotic and terrifying void. He became the diligent keeper of the unseen, the silent, impartial judge of departed spirits, ensuring their destined paths. While these three immensely powerful brothers held primary dominion over their distinct realms, the boundless sky, the vast and turbulent sea, and the profound silent underworld, the earth itself, with its myriad diverse lands, its fertile, life-giving plains, its towering ancient mountains, and its bustling, vibrant mortal life, was declared a shared domain. All three brothers, along with the other Olympian deities, would have influence over the mortal world, their formidable powers frequently intertwining, occasionally clashing, but always shaping the affairs of humankind and the very fabric of nature. This fundamental and momentous division of realms irrevocably established the core structure of the new Olympian order, a cosmic hierarchy that, though not without its future challenges, would ultimately endure for countless ages, shaping the destiny of gods and mortals alike. Zeus, now firmly enthroned as the supreme king of the gods, immediately embarked upon the formidable, intricate task of shaping and consolidating this new divine government. He meticulously brought order to the chaotic raw energies that had been unleashed and churned by the recent war, a monumental undertaking that required both immense power and profound foresight. He established clear, immutable laws, set forth binding decrees, and began to precisely define the intricate roles and significant responsibilities of the other powerful gods who now proudly resided on the sacred slopes of Mount Olympus. His nascent rule, though still in its foundational stages, was characterized by a newfound sense of justice and a rigorous adherence to cosmic balance, a stark and deliberate contrast to the capricious, fearful, and utterly self-serving reign of his overthrown father, Cronus. He quickly became the ultimate arbiter of all divine and mortal disputes, the swift and inevitable punisher of hubris and arrogance, and the unwavering protector of sacred oaths and ancient promises. The newly established Olympian pantheon, now flourishing under Zeus's firm, authoritative, yet often complex and multifaceted leadership, began its long and celebrated ascendancy. New, Vibrant deities were born, new, crucial alliances were forged, and the intricate foundations of a sophisticated, powerful, divine society were meticulously laid, brick by divine brick. The golden age of the elder Titans had definitively ended, replaced by the dynamic, often turbulent, but ultimately more ordered and just. Yet, the newly established peace, forged in the ashes of the Titanomachy and cemented by the division of the cosmos, was not destined for long tranquility. Gaia, the primordial earth from whom all life sprang and to whom all eventually returned, seethed with a deep, ancient wrath. Her vast, cavernous heart, a source of creation and destruction, was filled with a mother's fury. She had watched her colossal children, the mighty Titans, cast down into the bleak, eternal darkness of Tartarus, imprisoned by the very gods who now ruled. This injustice, in her eyes, demanded a reckoning. From her fertile, indignant womb, she brought forth a new, terrifying race of beings, the Gigantes, the giants. These were not merely large men, they were truly colossal, monstrous creatures, born of the earth itself, embodying its raw, untamed power. Their lower halves were often depicted as writhing, scaly serpentine coils, grounding them to the very soil from which they emerged, while their powerful human torsos towered towards the sky. Their hair, a tangled mass, frequently writhed with venomous snakes, and their immense, earth-shaking strength was matched only by their raw, uncontrollable fury. They were the very embodiment of Gaia's vengeance, destined to challenge the new Olympian order, to tear down the very mountain that formed the seat of Olympus, and to drown the heavens in a cataclysm of hurled boulders and fiery trees. The Gigantomachy, the war of the giants against the gods, erupted with a ferocity that made even the recently concluded Titanomachy seem like a distant echo. The earth groaned and shuddered under their monstrous, thunderous strides, each step causing tremors that rippled across the lands. The sky above Olympus, once clear and bright, darkened ominously with the constant barrage of their hurled rocks and uprooted flaming trees. The air itself grew thick with dust, and the acrid smell of burning foliage a testament to the conflict's intensity. The giants, led by their most formidable brethren, the colossal Alcyoneus, whose strength was boundless on his native soil, the towering Porphyrion, who dared to challenge Hera herself, and the fiery Enceladus, whose breath could scorch the land, surged relentlessly against Mount Olympus. Their sole aim was to usurp the gods, to shatter their dominion, and to claim control over the entire cosmos, replacing the newly established Olympian rule with their own chaotic reign. The Olympians, despite their newfound supreme power and the formidable weapons forged by the Cyclopes, soon discovered a grave, unexpected weakness. A crucial prophecy, whispered from the lips of the ancient fates themselves, those enigmatic weavers of destiny, declared with chilling certainty that the immortal gods, in their divine essence, could not defeat the earth-born Gigantes alone. Their celestial power, while vast, lacked a specific quality necessary for ultimate victory against these particular foes. Victory would only be truly possible, the prophecy foretold, if a mortal fought alongside them. For only a mortal, one bound by the fragile threads of human life, could deliver the final decisive blow against these monstrous earth-born creatures. This was a profound and humbling admission for the proud deities, their ultimate triumph. depended on the very beings they often overlooked or manipulated. This revelation, a stark reminder of divine limitation, pointed directly to Heracles, the celebrated hero. He was the son of Zeus himself, though born of the mortal woman Alcmene, a lineage that gave him both divine might and human vulnerability, making him the perfect bridge between two worlds. Heracles, already renowned throughout the mortal realm for his unparalleled physical strength, his incredible feats in completing the 12 great labors, and his unyielding, indomitable courage, was unequivocally the chosen instrument of fate. His mortal hand, guided by divine purpose, was deemed essential for the gods' survival. Zeus, recognizing the undeniable truth in the prophecy, dispatched his swift messenger, Hermes, and his wise daughter, Athena, to summon the hero. Heracles, ever ready for a challenge, his muscles rippling under his lion-skin cloak, did not hesitate. He swiftly joined the Olympian ranks on the battle-scarred slopes of Mount Olympus. The war raged on, a deafening symphony of destruction that echoed across plains and mountains. The air was filled with the metallic clash of divine weapons against the giant's stony skin. The earth trembled with their thunderous roars, and the cries of battle rent the very fabric of the sky. Apollo's golden arrows sang through the air, each one finding its mark with deadly precision. Athena's gleaming spear flashed with an unearthly light, striking down foes with tactical brilliance. And Zeus's mighty lightning bolts, unleashed with devastating force, tore through the monstrous forms of the giants, incinerating them where they stood. Yet it was Heracles whose mortal strength and human touch proved truly indispensable in this desperate conflict. When the colossal giant Alcyoneus, who was seemingly immortal and invincible on his native soil of Pallene, was struck down by Heracles' powerful arrow, the hero, with immense effort, dragged the monstrous body from his homeland, allowing the gods to truly defeat him. For away from his birthplace, his invulnerability vanished. Porphyrion, another formidable giant, who in his arrogance dared to assault Hera, the queen of the gods, was first struck by a blinding bolt of Zeus's lightning, momentarily stunning him, and then decisively finished by Heracles' unerring arrow, piercing his vulnerable spot and bringing him crashing down. With Heracles' crucial and often brutal aid, the seemingly endless tide of the war slowly, inexorably turned. The giants, one by one, began to fall before the combined overwhelming might of gods and mortal alike. Their colossal writhing bodies were cast down, many buried deep beneath the very mountains they had sought to hurl at the heavens, their last agonizing breaths forming the fiery eruptions of volcanoes that would forever scar the earth. The Gigantomachy, a cataclysmic war that stood as a stark testament to Gaia's enduring, vengeful wrath and the gods' newfound humbling reliance on mortal strength, finally came to its bitter end. The Olympian rule, though profoundly shaken by this epic confrontation, had once again proven its resilience and established its dominance. But the experience left an indelible mark on the divine consciousness. The gods had learned that even their immense celestial power had limits, and that sometimes the fate of the entire cosmos rested on the surprisingly capable shoulders of a mere mortal. As the Gigantomachy, the war against the giants, drew to a close, a deep quiet settled over the cosmos, though this peace was deceptive. For Gaia, The ancient Earth Mother still seethed with unyielding rage. Her fury at the imprisonment of her Titan and giant children had not diminished. It festered, culminating in one final desperate act of defiance. From her primordial depths, Gaia bore her last and most terrible child, a monstrous entity unlike any seen before. His name was Typhon, and he was destined to be the ultimate, most fearsome challenge to Zeus's nascent rule. Typhon was a creature of immense, terrifying scale, a grotesque embodiment of chaos. He rose from the earth, his head scraping the stars, his arms stretching from horizon to horizon. From his shoulders sprouted 100 serpent heads, each hissing with malevolent burning fire. His body was covered in shaggy hair, and his lower half consisted of coiling vipers, striking deadly. His voice was a cacophony of terrifying sounds, the roar of bulls, howl of wolves, hiss of serpents, crash of waves. From his eyes and mouths he spewed torrents of fire and molten rock. His breath was a scorching wind. He was a living storm, a force of destruction unleashed, and even the mighty Olympian gods trembled at his appearance. When Typhon emerged, the very foundations of the cosmos seemed to shake. The newly established order of Olympus faced its gravest threat. The other gods, struck with an unprecedented terror, abandoned their divine forms and fled, transforming into animals to escape Typhon's wrath. Apollo became a hawk, Artemis a cat, Dionysus a goat, and others scattered. Only Zeus, the king of the gods, remained to face this ultimate horror, his resolve hardened by the realization that this was a battle for the very existence of the Olympian order. Zeus, wielding his mighty lightning bolts, confronted Typhon in a cataclysmic battle shaking heavens and earth. The sky ignited with flashes of light. The ground trembled. Zeus hurled bolt after bolt, each a fiery spear of divine energy, but Typhon, with his immense size and hundreds of heads, seemed impervious. The monster retaliated with torrents of fire and searing wind, forcing Zeus to fight with all his immense power. Yet, in a shocking turn, Typhon gained the upper hand. He lashed out with serpentine coils, ensnaring Zeus and tearing the lightning bolts from his grasp. Then, with brutal, crushing force, Typhon severed Zeus's sinews, the vital tendons in his hands and feet, rendering him helpless. The king of the gods, disarmed and crippled, fell to the ground, a prisoner. Typhon, reveling in his temporary victory, carried the incapacitated Zeus to his lair in Cilicia, hiding his sinews beneath a bear skin, guarded by his sister, Delphin. It was a moment of profound despair for the Olympians, their supreme ruler defeated. But aid came from an unexpected quarter. Hermes, the swift messenger god known for his cunning, and Egipan, a goat-footed god, bravely distracted Delphin and retrieved Zeus's sinews. With tendons restored, Zeus's strength and power flowed back, igniting fierce vengeance. Now fully restored and burning with renewed fury, Zeus soared back into the sky, ready to complete the battle. He pursued Typhon relentlessly, unleashing a barrage of his mighty lightning bolts. The monster, wounded and enraged, fled, his colossal body tearing canyons and razing mountains. The chase was epic, a cosmic duel leaving scars on the landscape. Zeus relentlessly pursued Typhon, driving him across Thrace, wounding him again, then across the sea, finally cornering him in Sicily. With a final monumental effort, Zeus unleashed his full power, He hurled Mount Etna directly upon the struggling monster, burying Typhon beneath its colossal weight. The earth groaned and shuddered as Typhon, imprisoned but not dead, was sealed beneath the volcanic peak. To this day, the eruptions of Mount Etna are said to be the fiery breath of Typhon, struggling beneath his eternal prison. The defeat of Typhon was the ultimate test of Zeus's dominion, a cataclysmic battle that solidified his supreme authority over the cosmos. With this final monstrous threat vanquished, the age of primordial chaos truly ended, and the reign of the Olympian gods was firmly established. Zeus, having faced and overcome the most terrifying offspring of Gaia, now stood unchallenged as the absolute ruler, his thunder and lightning the undeniable symbols of his power. The world could finally begin to settle into the order he had painstakingly built, an order he would strive to maintain through justice, law, and his formidable will. His victory over Typhon marked the definitive end of ancient chaos and the undisputed dawn of the Olympian era. And so, with Typhon defeated and the cosmos brought under his firm control, Zeus had seemingly secured his reign. The era of the Titans was over, the Gigantes vanquished, and the Olympian gods reigned supreme from their lofty peak. Yet, even for the king of the gods, the future held its own subtle dangers, not from external enemies, but from the very fabric of prophecy and his own lineage. You see, long before this, Zeus had taken Metis as his first wife. She was a Titaness, a daughter of Oceanus and Tethys, but more importantly, she was the embodiment of wisdom, foresight, and cunning. Her counsel had been invaluable to Zeus, particularly during his struggle against Cronus, when she had helped him devise the plan to free his swallowed siblings by providing the emetic potion. Their union was meant to bring forth powerful offspring, children worthy of their divine parents. However, a new prophecy emerged, one that filled Zeus with a familiar unease, reminiscent of the dark fate that had befallen his own father Cronus. This prophecy, delivered by Gaia and Uranus themselves, the primordial deities of earth and sky, declared that Metis would first bear a daughter, a child of immense wisdom and strength. This daughter, they foretold, would be truly formidable. But then the prophecy continued. Metis would bear a second child, a son, and this son was destined to surpass Zeus himself in power, in wisdom, and in glory. This second child, it was whispered across the cosmos, would ultimately overthrow his father, just as Zeus had overthrown Cronus, and Cronus had overthrown Uranus before him. The cycle of succession and violent overthrow, a destructive theme in divine history, loomed large over Zeus's nascent reign. Zeus, having lived through the terror of his own father's paranoia and the brutal, decade-long war that followed, understood the profound weight of such a prophecy. He had been the one to fulfill the previous prophecy against Cronus, and he was acutely aware of history's potential to repeat itself. He could not allow such a dire threat to materialize, especially not from his own flesh and blood. His rule, so recently established, depended on absolute stability. He needed to find a way to avert this fate, to break the ancient destructive cycle without resorting to the brutal methods of his predecessors. He did not wish to imprison or harm Metis, for he genuinely valued her extraordinary wisdom and invaluable counsel, but the prophecy was clear and unyielding. So, Zeus devised a plan, one that was as cunning and strategic as Metis herself. He approached her, not with anger or overt fear, but with a deceptive charm, engaging her in a playful debate about who possessed the greater power of transformation, who could change their shape more rapidly. Metis, confident in her immense magical abilities and unaware of Zeus's true intentions, began to transform with enthusiasm, shifting her form from a grand lioness to a swiftly flowing river, from a towering tree to a tiny, almost imperceptible fly. As she transformed into the smallest of creatures, a simple housefly, Zeus saw his perfect opportunity. Swiftly, and without any further warning, he opened his mouth and swallowed her whole. It was a sudden, decisive act, one that shocked the other gods, for it seemed on the surface to be an act of violence against his own wife. But it was not an act of destruction. It was, in fact, an act of profound absorption. By consuming Metis, Zeus did not destroy her. Instead, he incorporated her very essence, her boundless wisdom, and her unparalleled foresight directly into himself. Her exceptional intelligence became his intelligence. Her profound cunning became his cunning. Her deep knowledge of the future became his knowledge. This ingenious and unique act allowed him to avert the prophecy of a son who would overthrow him, for Metis was now safely within him, unable to bear any further children outside of his own divine being. The potential threat was neutralized, and the ancient cycle of parricide was decisively broken. He had found a way to stop the prophecy from unfolding in the traditional, violent manner, preserving his reign and establishing a new precedent. From that moment on, Zeus became even wiser, even more cunning, his judgment sharpened, and his strategic thinking amplified by the seamless integration of Metis's profound intellect. He could now anticipate threats before they fully formed, and his complex strategies became even more intricate and effective. The swallowing of Metis was a pivotal moment in his consolidation of power, securing his reign not just through overwhelming strength, but through an unprecedented accumulation of wisdom and foresight. It was a secret, profound act that solidified his position as the supreme ruler, ensuring that no child born of Metis could ever challenge his throne. This act also set the stage for one of the most remarkable and unexpected births in all of mythology, an event that would further demonstrate Zeus's unique power and the strange, unpredictable ways in which divine prophecies could unfold and be fulfilled. Following this extraordinary act, Zeus found himself in an unprecedented state, a condition he, the mighty king of the gods, had never before experienced. He had absorbed the very essence of Metis, the Titaness of wisdom, and with her, her unparalleled intellect and foresight. Yet, this profound and powerful assimilation came with an unexpected and agonizing consequence that began to consume him. A headache unlike any he had ever known, a pain more intense than any battle wound, began to build within his very divine skull. It was not merely physical pain. It was a colossal pressure, an immense internal force seeking release, a weight of nascent divinity struggling to find its destined form and manifest itself fully. The pain grew steadily, becoming unbearable, relentless, a throbbing torment that even the supreme ruler of Olympus could not simply endure. Zeus, who had faced down primordial titans and monstrous giants in cataclysmic wars, now found himself utterly overwhelmed and incapacitated by this internal struggle, a torment that resonated through his very being. He paced the magnificent cloud-wreathed halls of Olympus, his divine brow furrowed deeply, his usual majestic composure shattered by the escalating, relentless agony. The other Olympians, witnessing their mighty ruler in such profound distress, were filled with a mixture of concern, awe, and a quiet apprehension. Never had they seen Zeus so afflicted, so visibly tormented by an unseen force. He desperately sought relief, but no divine remedy, no golden draught of ambrosia, no sweet sip of nectar could assuage the burgeoning irresistible force within his head. The pain intensified with each passing moment, becoming a cosmic headache, a profound physical manifestation of the immense power and unparalleled wisdom now contained within his very essence. It became increasingly clear that something truly monumental, something destined to reshape the divine order, was striving with immense force to emerge from within him. In his desperation, his majestic voice strained with agony, Zeus called upon Hephaestus, the lame but exceptionally masterful smith god, known throughout the cosmos for his extraordinary craftsmanship and his unparalleled ability to work with fire, metal, and divine essence. Hephaestus, the son of Zeus and Hera, was the divine artisan, a master of forge and anvil, whose hands shaped wonders from the rawest elements of creation. He stood before his suffering father, his mighty double-headed axe held firmly in his calloused hands, ready to perform an act that would forever alter the divine lineage and the very fabric of Olympus. With a single, precise, and mighty blow of his axe, Hephaestus struck Zeus's skull. The sound resonated with astonishing force through the hallowed halls of Olympus, a sharp, metallic clang that was immediately followed by a blinding burst of radiant golden light. From the cleaved head of Zeus, not a stream of blood or a cry of pain, but a figure of unparalleled majesty and strength emerged. It was not a helpless infant, nor a vulnerable child requiring protection. Instead, fully grown and resplendent in her divine glory, sprang forth Athena. She was clad in gleaming, formidable armor, a magnificent golden helmet upon her head, a sharp, bronze-tipped spear held firmly in one hand, and a sturdy shield in the other. Her eyes, keen, intelligent, and piercing, shone with the deepest wisdom, and her entire presence exuded both immense strength and an almost serene, unyielding authority. She let out a mighty war cry, a sound that echoed powerfully across the heavens and vibrated down to the mortal world, shaking the very foundations of the cosmos itself. It was a cry of triumph, of divine birth, and of unwavering, resolute purpose. Athena, now known as the revered goddess of wisdom, strategic warfare, and intricate handicrafts, stood before them, a living testament to Zeus's supreme power and the perfectly absorbed wisdom of Metis. Her birth was unique, unprecedented, and utterly miraculous in the vast annals of divine creation. She had no mother in the traditional sense, having sprung directly and fully formed from the very mind of her father, making her Zeus's most cherished child and his most trusted, insightful advisor. Her extraordinary arrival solidified Zeus's dominion, proving that he could not only cunningly avert ancient prophecies, but also integrate their potential and power into his own being, thereby enhancing his rule. Her wisdom was now seamlessly intertwined with his wisdom, her strategic strength an extension of his own might. She embodied the intellectual and strategic aspects of warfare, favoring cunning, intricate tactics, and clever stratagems over mere brute force, and was also the revered patron of artisans, weaving, pottery, and various skilled crafts. Her unparalleled birth marked a new significant era on Olympus, an era defined by profound wisdom and unyielding strategic might at the very heart of the supreme god's rule. With Athena, his wise and powerful daughter, now firmly by his side, Zeus's reign, though still occasionally challenged by lesser forces, was imbued with an unparalleled intellectual depth and an unyielding strategic advantage, ensuring the lasting stability and ultimate triumph of his cosmic order for ages to come. And so, with wisdom now an integral part of his very being, Zeus settled into his role as the undisputed king of the gods, the sovereign of Olympus. His victory over Cronus, the Titans, the giants, and even the monstrous Typhon had solidified his rule. Yet the cosmos was a vast and tumultuous place, and even a king as mighty as Zeus knew that power alone was not enough to ensure lasting order. He understood that true dominion required not just strength, but also a delicate balance of law, justice, and the careful management of both divine and mortal affairs. From his golden throne atop Mount Olympus, Zeus began to meticulously establish the framework of the new world. He didn't merely rule by decree. He sought to create a system, a cosmic order that would prevent the chaos of the past. He was the ultimate arbiter, the one who enforced the laws of fate and the divine decrees. His judgments were final, swift, and often accompanied by the terrifying flash of his lightning bolts, a constant reminder of the power that backed his pronouncements. Yet, even with his supreme authority, Zeus's reign was far from unchallenged. The Olympian pantheon itself, a family of powerful and often tempestuous deities, frequently tested his patience and his resolve. His own wife, Hera, queen of the gods, plotted ceaselessly against his many lovers and their mortal offspring, creating intricate, often devastating schemes that Zeus had to patiently unravel and powerfully counteract, demonstrating his unwavering control over even the most personal divine disputes. There were also the occasional rebellions from other gods, minor deities, or even the subtle machinations of those who felt their influence waning. Zeus, however, possessed not only immense power, but also a profound understanding of the intricate web of relationships on Olympus. He used diplomacy, threats, and sometimes even direct force to bring rebellious deities back into line, ensuring that no single god or faction could ever truly undermine his supreme position. He understood that while he was the ruler, he was also the anchor that held the divine world together. His wisdom, gained from Metis, allowed him to foresee many challenges, giving him the strategic foresight to navigate the complex politics of the gods and maintain his authority without constant overt displays of force. Beyond the divine realm, Zeus was also deeply concerned with the affairs of humanity. Mortals, with their fleeting lives and unpredictable passions, often presented their own set of challenges. Their hubris, their pride that sometimes led them to challenge the gods or neglect proper reverence, was a constant source of divine displeasure. Zeus, as the protector of oaths and hospitality, often intervened in mortal affairs, dispensing justice where he saw fit. He sent clear omens, vivid dreams, and sometimes even direct, thunderous punishments to those who broke their sacred vows or showed blatant disrespect to the divine order, ensuring that no act of defiance, however small, went unnoticed or unaddressed. He watched over kings and beggars alike, ensuring that the balance between mortal ambition and divine will was maintained. One of his most critical roles was to maintain the cosmic balance, not just between gods and mortals, but between opposing forces like order and chaos, fate and free will. He was the keeper of the universal laws, the one who ensured that the sun rose each day, that the seasons turned, and that the stars remained in their appointed places. This wasn't a passive role. It required constant vigilance and occasional intervention. He had to quell raging storms, prevent devastating natural disasters, and sometimes even directly influence the momentous course of human history, all to meticulously keep the world from spiraling back into the primordial chaos from which it had so recently emerged, a chaos that always threatened to resurface. His method of rule was multifaceted. He relied on the counsel of his divine siblings and children, listened to the pleas of mortals, but ultimately, the final decision always rested with him. He was the god of justice. Dike, Themis, and Nemesis often acted as his agents, ensuring that no transgression went unpunished. His thunderbolts, forged by the Cyclopes, were not just weapons of war. They were instruments of divine judgment, striking down those who dared to defy the established order. Throughout his long reign, which spanned countless ages, Zeus remained the bedrock of the Olympian world. He was the ultimate authority, the powerful, wise, and sometimes fearsome king who held the universe in his grasp. His secrets, his hidden birth, his strategic swallowing of Metis, his unique method of bringing forth Athena, all these events had shaped him into the ruler he became. He had learned from the mistakes of his father Cronus, who ruled through fear and consumption. Zeus chose a different path, one of order, law, and a form of justice that, while often stern, aimed to preserve the delicate tapestry of existence. He ensured that the Olympian age, unlike the chaotic ages before it, would endure, a testament to his unwavering power and his profound understanding of the cosmos he commanded. His legacy was not just in his victories, but in the enduring structure of the world he forged, a world where gods and mortals alike lived under the watchful eye of the mighty Zeus, the king of Olympus, whose reign, marked by both power and profound wisdom, continues to echo through the very fabric of time.